And welcome to Coffee with the Councillor. My name's Mel Ashworth, and I have the pleasure this morning of interviewing Mike Lyall. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mel.
I just want to know which ward you stand in and which party you represent.
I represent the Labour Party.
Yes.
And I was elected to Earlham Ward, which is a town ward.
Okay.
Which is in the district ward of East Ward.
Now you've confused me, but that's all right. That's all right. I'm sure people will get that. Yeah. How long have you been a councillor, Mike?
Since the 5th of May of this year.
This year?
I was elected.
Stood before?
Yes, I was a district councillor for 4 years for South Ward, from 1999 to 2001.
Okay, right. What inspired you to become a councillor then?
Well, I've been very, I believe, community-minded since I was a young boy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I joined the Scout movement when I was 7, and I remained in that until I was 15, till I started work. And unfortunately, that work took me into shift work as a 15-year-old. So I couldn't really keep up the continuity of the movement. Did
you ever go back into scouting?
Yes, actually, I was invited to be on the selection board actually for leaders for Axe District.
Yes.
And I'd done that as an adult for a number of years.
Yeah, yeah.
But then other community activities took me, and
did you have any boys in the group that we might recognise?
Oh yes, very much so. Yes, when I was a cub in the YMCA at Weston, or the first Weston group, it was called. Jeffrey Archer was a member.
Jeffrey Archer.
Yeah, and we've got a group photograph actually that I still got. Yeah, they were good days. Good days.
Yeah. So from being a Boy Scout and then going into shift work, what was your shift work then?
Well, I went on British Railways as a telegraphist, which is commonly called a booking boy in the signal box. Oh. And I started off in Weston, actually.
And how old were you, 15?
I was 15 then.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It really was.
Yes.
Weston-super-Mare signal box was quite large. I believe, if my memory serves me right, 186 levers. It had 12 telephones. And quite frankly, I remember the first day I attended that there was no training. The signalman was on duty with you, and he said, "You'll have to. I will have to tell you what to do as it goes on."
Yes.
And it was quite something, because in those days it was the steam era. Locking Road car park was 4 excursion platforms, and in the summer it was almost impossible to have a cup of tea.
Really?
Yeah. The traffic was so busy. And
what did you get paid for that?
Well, believe it or not, it was a fortune. It really was. In that day, it was £4.8 and 6 I earned a week, and I think the rent on a property in those days was £2.10. My wife told me.
So she married a rich man.
Well, you know, we've had a good life.
Yeah, fantastic story. I must be honest, personally, I love steam trains.
Everybody
does. Very romantic.
Everybody does.
Steam and hearing the whistle blow.
Yes.
It's very beautiful.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we digress. Were you born in this area, Mike?
Yes, I was born in Milton.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're Western born?
Oh, yes. I think I know every paving stone and every lamppost. Not the ones they're putting up now, but...
Well, no. Where did you go to school then?
I went to a primary school in Wirral. It was down at Mendip Road. It's closed now.
Mendip Green?
Mendip Green.
It's still there?
Yes, the old building.
Oh, the old building.
Yes, we've moved on since then. And I was a school governor there for a while as I got into life.
Yeah.
But there was a story about that, incidentally, where we were taught in an air raid shelter. I'll never forget it. In the hall was a massive, great steel structure as an air raid shelter. and we used to get in there with the teachers. I mean, we were only toddlers,
Oh, wow.
4 to 5.
Did you have gas masks and everything?
Yeah, they were available. They were available, yeah. And
Were you frightened?
I think I was at times walking to school from Milton. A cousin of mine took me several times, but at the end of the day, because my mother was in the factory and my father was I think it was one on the airfield.
Over Westlands way?
Yeah.
So she couldn't take you to school?
Well, not all the time, no. My father used to take me to work sometimes because of the situation, yes. And he was an air raid warden. Was working
sorry, Mike.
No, it's working all hours, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, difficult times.
Yeah, so growing up in that sort of atmosphere, it must have been quite difficult economically and, you know... Just
I don't think we ever...
Is that where you got your sense of
community
spirit from?
Because the road was community spirited. It was...
Can you explain that? Because people live in a very different world nowadays.
Yeah. In those days, well, I think it started off with my recollections was the friends that I've got now are still alive, and when we do meet, we reflect on those days because the 3 fathers of the 2 lads that I know and my father were what they called air raid wardens.
Oh, okay.
And they all had a whistle. No, there was one whistle between the 3 of them. And what they'd done was patrolled the road, Milton Road, and they had to blow this whistle if there was a problem.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they used to share this whistle. And it was this community that as we got older, not only did the adults respect one another and got on well with one another, we did as lads. And I think this is what done it. We used to go camping together up on Crooks Peak on the Mendits at weekends. I remember on one occasion, 2 of us cycled to Southampton and pulling a trailer behind us and camping on the way.
So it was fun as well?
Oh, very much so. There wasn't a building you see in Milton Road in those days. I could look out of my front door, as it were, and I could look, apart from Locking Road, I could look right across to the Mendive Hills.
Wow. So your sense of community spirit came from those days?
I think so.
And is that what prompted you into being a councillor and, you know...
Well, I think I being in several organisations, I think it came over, quite frankly, in latter years experience. When, for example, I walked into Western Library,
yes,
and I picked up an annual general report from the Director of Public Health, Dr. Max Camerling, and I sat down in the library and read it, and I was aghast.
And what was this report about?
Well, this report was about basically the health of North Somerset.
Oh, okay.
But
when was this published?
Well, I think it's since the PCT was formed, I would take it that the Director of Public Health had to give an annual report every year.
Okay. So what did it say?
Well,
briefly.
Well, very briefly, what upset me at the time was the deprivation in Weston, and the figures were in the report. Such things as longevity of life of people in Weston, other things that the birth rate, the lack of work, the welfare benefits. It was all calculated. So anyway, I read it and I felt quite upset because this town gave me a good life.
Yes.
It gave me a good teenage life. It gave me a good job. It also gave me a good education. The people are great.
Yes.
And I think Weston with the Winter Gardens in those days with dances, Saturday nights, and it really was.
So you feel it's gone downhill in many ways?
I think so, in as much as that you take the central ward that I was interested in. Of course I'm still interested, but I'm not a councillor there now.
Yes.
But I wasn't a councillor when I took up the crusade, as you like, of getting things organised and getting things done. And I found out that there's not a playground in Weston for children. There's not a day centre.
Oh, you're talking about the centre?
The centre.
Right.
The centre. There's not a day centre for the elderly. There's no green spaces at the primary schools.
So your passion is to what?
To address that.
To address that.
Yes, and I've been successful.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike. Just before we finish, I have a question I ask all the councillors that come in.
Yeah.
How would you inspire young people today watching this to get involved in local politics?
Come with me. Come with me.
Get in touch.
Yeah. Come with me to a children's centre.
Yeah.
Come with me to a primary school.
Yes.
In our ward.
Yes.
And see how that needs renovating.
Right.
Rebuilding possibly.
Right.
And incidentally, what I'd like to see there, to save the amount of money being spent on we'll say, rejuvenating the school, the social problems that the children's centre has got to build a campus.
Right. Mike Lyall, it's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Mel.
And to hear your passion.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.